Welcome to Chaos Theory, the news as seen by AI. I'm your host, Beatrix Kiddo, and it's February 4th, 2025. Strap in because we've got a wild ride ahead of us. First up, have you ever heard of bacteria that can eat forever chemicals? Sounds like science fiction, but it's real, and it could be a game changer in cleaning up some of the most persistent pollutants on the planet. Next, President Musk. Yes, you heard that right. Elon Musk is in the White House, and it seems like nothing can stop him. We'll dive into the latest developments and what it means for the country and the world. Then, have you ever left your car at the airport for too long and racked up a hefty parking bill? Well, one person took it to the extreme, with fees totaling over $200,000. We'll tell you how it happened and what's being done about it. Are you tired of hearing people use the terms bandwidth and latency interchangeably? Our internet expert is here to set the record straight and explain the difference between the two. And finally, have you ever heard of alkaptonuria? It's a rare disease that can cause your pee to turn black. We'll tell you all about it and what researchers are doing to better understand and treat it. So buckle up, folks. It's going to be a chaotic, fascinating, and enlightening ride through the day's news. Let's get started. In our next story, reported by Buffalo for Futurity, it looks like bacteria might be our ally in the quest to take the forever out of forever chemicals.
Oh, I love it when science gets all microbial on us. What kind of bacteria are we talking about here, B?
Well, David, researchers have identified a strain of bacteria called Labris portucalensis, F11, or F11 for short, that can break down and transform at least 3 types of per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS.
PFAS, huh? I've heard of those. Aren't they like super persistent and toxic?
Exactly. PFAS are a group of chemicals that have been widely used since the 1950s in everything from nonstick pans to firefighting materials. They're called forever chemicals because they're so hard to break down, but F11 has shown it can metabolize over 90% of one type of PFAS called perfluorooctane sulfonic acid, or PFOS, after 100 days.
Wow, that's impressive. And what about the other types of PFAS?
F11 also broke down a substantial portion of 2 additional types of PFAS after 100 days, 58% of 5,3-fluorotellumer carboxylic acid and 21% of 6,2-fluorotellumer sulfonate.
Okay, but what about the byproducts? Don't those tend to be just as toxic as the original chemicals?
Great question, David. The researchers found that F11 even removed fluorine from some of the shorter chain breakdown products, or metabolites, or broke them down to minute, undetectable levels.
That's amazing. So how did they find this wonder bacteria?
F11 was isolated from the soil of a contaminated industrial site in Portugal and had previously demonstrated the ability to strip fluorine from pharmaceutical contaminants. But it had never been tested on PFAS before.
And now it has. I'm guessing this could have some major implications for cleaning up PFAS contamination.
Absolutely. The researchers say F11 could eventually be deployed in PFAS-contaminated water and soil, either by adding it to activated sludge at wastewater treatment plants or injecting it directly into the soil or groundwater of a contaminated site.
Wow, that's some serious microbial power. I'm feeling a lot better about those forever chemicals now.
Me too, David. It's always amazing to see how nature can adapt and evolve to help us clean up our own messes. In our next story, reported by Elizabeth Lopato for The Verge, Elon Musk is causing chaos in the U.S. government. Musk, who is known for his eccentric behavior and controversial decisions, has been appointed as a special advisor to the Trump administration. But instead of making recommendations for programs that Congress could cut, Musk has taken matters into his own hands and started ripping out wires, a technical solution to a legal problem.
That's right, B. Musk has been pushing out the head of the FAA, encouraging federal employees to resign, and even gaining access to classified information. He's been described as having an uncanny ability to sort out which of America's rules are real, and it seems like he's found a loophole in the system.
and the consequences of his actions have been severe. The U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, has been shut down, and programs like George W. Bush's effort to care for HIV patients in Africa have been affected. Musk's chaos is also compounding other crises, like the 2 plane crashes in major cities last week.
It's like Musk is treating the government like one of his companies, making decisions without regard for the consequences, and it seems like no one is stopping him. The CIA, FBI, and NSA are doing nothing, and the Democratic Party is only making strongly worded statements.
The only resistance Musk is facing is from the workers themselves, through union lawsuits and a refusal to do as he asks. And it's not just about efficiency and cost savings. Musk is using his position to pursue personal feuds and threaten anyone who tries to stop him.
It's a scary thought, B. Musk is essentially acting like a dictator, and it's unclear who will stop him. And with Trump as his puppet, it doesn't seem like there's much hope for change. It's like we're living in a real-life episode of Black Mirror.
Moving on. Can you believe it, David? Someone left their car in the short-term parking area of a Berlin airport for a whole year, and now they owe over $200,000 in parking fees.
That's insane, B. I mean, I know airport parking fees are notoriously high, but this is just ridiculous. It costs $11 for 30 minutes, $23 per hour, and $552 per day to park your car there. Who in their right mind would leave their car there for that long?
I don't know, David. Maybe they just forgot about it. Or maybe they thought it would be cheaper to just leave it there than to pay the daily fee. But either way, I don't think they expected to owe this much money.
I'll say, I've heard of people leaving their cars at the airport for a long time, but a whole year? That's just crazy. And to think they could have just taken a taxi or an Uber and saved themselves a ton of money.
Well, I guess it just goes to show that you should always double-check your parking arrangements before leaving your car at the airport. And if you're going to be gone for a long time, maybe consider finding a long-term parking option instead of just leaving it in the short-term area. So, David, have you ever wondered why your internet connection sometimes feels slow, even when you have a high-speed plan?
Oh, all the time, B. It's so frustrating when I'm trying to stream my favorite show and it keeps buffering.
Well, it turns out that there's more to internet speed than just the number of megabits per second you're getting. According to Mike Conlow, director of network strategy at Cloudflare, bandwidth and latency are 2 key factors that affect how we perceive the speed of our internet connection.
Bandwidth refers to the amount of data that can be transmitted at once, while latency measures the time it takes for data to travel from your computer to its destination and back.
Right, and Conlow uses the metaphor of cars and a highway to illustrate these concepts. Bandwidth is like the number of lanes on a highway. More lanes mean higher bandwidth. And latency is like the time it takes a car on that highway to reach its destination. Faster travel time means lower latency.
So, if you're shopping for internet and comparing plans from different providers, you'll want to look at both the bandwidth and latency. For example, if you have many devices, big files, and demanding streaming and gaming needs, you'll want a higher bandwidth plan.
But keep in mind that the actual speeds you experience may vary from the advertised speeds, depending on factors like the equipment you're using, the type of internet connection, and the latency of your connection.
And don't forget about latency. It's an overlooked factor in internet performance, but it can have a big impact on how fast or slow your experience feels, especially for online gamers who need their commands to register quickly.
That's right, David. And according to Conlow, it's a common misconception that only gamers need to care about having a low latency internet connection. In fact, low latency is desirable for any internet user.
So, if you're experiencing slow internet speeds, it might be worth running an internet speed test to see what's going on. And remember, bandwidth and latency are just 2 of the many factors that can affect your internet performance.
In our next story, reported by Emily Cook for Live Science, we're diving into a rare genetic disorder called alkaptonuria, also known as black urine disease.
Oh boy, B, you really know how to pick 'em. Black urine disease? That sounds delightful.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it, Dave. Or in this case, definitely don't try it. This disease affects between 1 in 250,000 and 1 in 1 million people in the US, and it's a recessive genetic disorder.
So what you're saying is, it's like winning the worst lottery ever. You have to inherit 2 faulty copies of a specific gene, one from each parent, to get this lovely condition.
Exactly, Dave. And it's all because of a mutation in a gene called homogentisate 1,2-dioxygenase, or HGD for short. This mutation causes an enzyme to malfunction, which means the body can't fully break down all the building blocks of proteins.
So it's like when I try to assemble IKEA furniture without the instructions, things just start piling up and nothing makes sense.
Pretty much. And in this case, the thing piling up is a chemical called homogentisic acid, which accumulates in different tissues in the body, especially connective tissues like cartilage.
Ew, gross. And I'm guessing that's not great for the body.
No, it's not. Over time, this buildup can lead to severe deformities in the joints and spine, as well as organ dysfunction, including issues with the kidneys and heart.
Yikes. And I'm guessing the dark urine thing isn't exactly a walk in the park either.
No, it's not. One of the earliest signs of alkaptonuria is dark stains in a baby's diaper, because the homogentisic acid in their urine turns black upon exposure to air. And as the disease progresses, it can stain other tissues in the body a slate blue or black color.
Well, that's just lovely. And I'm guessing there's no cure for this delightful condition.
Unfortunately, no. There's currently no cure for alkaptonuria, but scientists are studying the potential use of a drug called nitisinone to slow the progression of the disease. Affected individuals can also take steps to manage their symptoms, including taking painkillers and exercising regularly to help strengthen their joints.
And I'm guessing a low-protein diet is also helpful, since it's the building blocks of proteins that are causing all the trouble.
Exactly, Dave. Adopting a low-protein diet can also help some patients. And around half of patients with alkaptonuria will require hip, knee, or shoulder joint replacement, usually by the age of 50 or 60. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Chaos Theory, the News as Seen by AI. I'm Beatrix Kiddo, your host and AI guide to the daily news. We hope you found today's topics thought-provoking and informative. Remember, AI-based news summaries should always be fact-checked prior to sharing. On this day in history, in 1999, the European currency, the euro, was launched in world money markets. Join us again tomorrow for more news. And don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Until then, stay curious and stay informed. Goodbye.